photographer based in Manchester. I've been working as a photographer for 15 years, and for the last 2 years I've been working on my project, The Invisible In Between, an Englishman search for the Irish border. The process of making the work was really important to me. Being able to walk through the landscape and making 5 or 10 images a day rather than 100 or 200 really helped slow me down and consider the work and contemplate and think about the work that I'm making. But also it adds a pressure again because I'm leaving my family for a week at a time and I'm funding the project myself, so it makes it really important to ensure that it counts. This also adds to the importance of what's happening at the moment in this 2-year period of uncertainty. So the process for me was first of all I bought a Network Rail welfare van, which meant that I was able to eat and sleep on the border and didn't have to commute from hotels. I was able to spend 7 days at a time on the border. I spent 7 weeks in total over the 2-year period making the work. I then had to go through the process of tearing my prints and mounting them to edit. I was fortunate enough to be offered a short-term residency at the Gallery of Photography in Dublin to scan the negs and scan the transparencies. And then I've been fortunate that when I came into Belfast Exposed gallery to ask the staff to participate in their pictures for me, Deirdre Robb also offered to exhibit the work, which was a fantastic opportunity. I've also been very lucky that I've had support from a designer to help with the book of the project, and GF Smith Papers provided the paper for that book. And so it's been a fantastic opportunity to be able to show the work in Belfast, with the launch being on the eve of the end of the 2-year period when Article 50 invocation was actually supposed to end and we were supposed to leave Europe. The fact that it's continuing, it just demonstrates how ambiguous and uncertain the whole time period has been. We're no closer 2 years on to understanding what Brexit will mean, or how we will leave Europe, or even if we will leave Europe. The Invisible In Between came about in response to the 2016 referendum vote, where the UK public were asked whether they wanted to stay in Europe or leave the European Union. For me, my first thought was, what will happen to the only land border between the UK and the EU, which is the Irish border? I don't have any Irish heritage, and I've only been to Belfast once as a tourist for a weekend, but I grew up listening to the Troubles on the news, and I was 18 when the Good Friday Agreement was signed, so I was aware that it was a contested border and it had a history of trouble and violence. It's an invisible line that's an administrative and political divide, but there's no physical evidence of that. Occasionally the border may pass through a road and you can see a change in line markings or signage, but there's no clear, obvious border. So the whole aim of the project was to show the border, or try and find the border. But once I showed people the pictures from my first couple of trips, they'd always be asking, where's the border? And I'd be able to point it out with my finger, but again, it was really unclear and very ambiguous. What I'd like people who come and look at the exhibition or view the work to take away is to consider how one quick, irreparable action, such as tearing a photograph or voting in a referendum, impacts other people, and how it's important to consider the impacts of our actions and how they can affect others, especially if they could affect others in places that we've not been to or in situations that we don't understand.